Welcome to the LockedOn monthly webinar. Today we'll be taking you through three core parts of the system. The first part in this first session, we're going to be looking at the engine section, where we look at the setup of your account, your profiles, and what features you have behind the scenes in the engine database. Some of the first things for housekeeping and your main areas of the system are going to be located here on the left-hand side, is your menus of all the databases. You can see I clicked the little circle icon at the top to lock that menu. If I want that menu to hide, I can untick that. And there's also some settings I'll show you that you can keep this actual menu open if you're a new user. Now, the reason you would hide that is it gives you more screen real estate. So you actually can see more on your screen. You eventually know what these buttons mean. You can quickly hover over and click on them. But if you want to lock it, click this option here. So you can see the main areas we'll be going through today: clients, properties, tasks, inquiries, calendar, reports, and engine. So they are all the main areas that we'll sort of touch on. But over on the right-hand side are the two other navigational buttons that you use throughout the system. So we have actions, which you will see throughout this session today and throughout your account. It's how you add data to the system. Okay, so whether we're adding a new client or a new property, or we want to add a note to a client or a property, or a follow-up task to a client or a property, the actions will show you a different list of items depending on where you're at in the screen. And the other option is send, and send will actually allow you to send to the list you're on, or the person or the record you're on. Again, we'll touch on this, but basically they're the two main navigational features of the system. You have your menus of your databases and your actions and send option over on the right. So I'll just pull that in for a minute, give you more screen real estate. Okay, so one of the first things that you'll need to do is, doesn't matter if you're an admin user or agent user, you'll all have your profile in the My Details area. Now, LockedOn configures a lot of this when you establish your accounts, but if you're a new user and you've been invited, I want you all to check that your details are correct in here, because these flow through to a lot of your letters, a lot of your emails and SMSs you do. You really should have a work email entered in there. Very rarely do you have more than one email. I've got a portal one there which I upload to portals. I'll just remove that. If you want to add more numbers or emails, you can by using the add option. You'll see that throughout the system. But check your name, check your position, check that this is work and you've marked it as primary with the green dot. And any numbers you want to add, your mobile should be primary. You also add your social accounts. So if you're an agent, these are your personal ones, not the office ones. So if you're trying to build that branding, we'll actually have social media icons and a lot of marketing very soon in the system. And we haven't enabled it yet, but it's good to store those links. And if you need to add your profile picture, which we use for a lot of your marketing, send that over to us. We resize it and we'll put that into your account there, and you can then save your profile. Now, the reason that we set up all of this is that once you've saved your profile, this will all flow through into your signature. So we can see here we have your signature design, pulling in a fair bit of information. We actually have a new layout there where you've got an image layout, which you can swap. So you can see that it'll put your photo there with your details, and you can turn off certain things that you may not want to see there. So disclaimer, agent details. So you can play around with this, see what you want to display. You've either got the image layout or the normal layout, which puts your logo in there, and then you can save those settings. So they're two things that we'd like each user to make sure they've got set up for their own profile. Now, for a user, you also have the settings area. So in the settings, we've got two features in here that allow you to control how the account works when you log in. So these are settings that you can customize to yourself. There'll be more and more added to this area. If I lock the side menu bar open, that will keep this open every time I log into the system. So you'll notice that it won't fade away when I move my mouse away from that. You can turn that off, and then that means that that menu bar will actually hide next time we refresh. You can also default your properties database to load your rentals if you're a rental person, or your listings if you're in sales. So if I put my listings on and save that setting, we go back to the dashboard and I select properties over here on the left, it's going to apply a filter that searches for my listed properties. So it will always load the listings that I have instead of showing me all properties. So again, that's back in the My Details area. In settings, we can control some options here. So I'll just turn that off. We've blocked the side menu. We'll save that, and we'll just refresh this so the side menu bar actually goes away. And we can see that if I hover over that now, it will pop back up. So that's got the hover option there. Now, if you're an admin user, you have access to the Office settings here and your accounts and billing. So Office for admin, just check all your details are right here. Again, we do a lot of this setup for you. Settings and some more advanced features in here. So you can turn some things on and off. In here is a really good one for client management. if you're a multi-user office, you can actually say that if someone comes into the office with an email or a mobile and they're already in the system, we'll unlock that record to the other agent who's put them into the database. So it allows your agents to share records without opening up the database. So that's probably a common one that we have set up for most new accounts anyway. So if you're an admin user, check your settings here that you have. There's a few things that you can play with. If you're unsure on any of these, make sure you contact our support team, support@lockedon.com. Okay, also in here, another important area is the theme. Again, this is one of the main things we set up first of all with you guys. So if your logo does change or your colors do change, all you need to do is come in here and update those. It will reflect down to all your branding. So you don't need to change your branding. It will just automatically update all of them. I've got my Locked On logos in here and we'll show you how that works into the settings soon. Now over on the right, let's lock this menu and let's get into the engine. So again, the first part of this session today is about the behind the scenes. So setting up your profile, we just went over. If you're an admin person, looking at your office settings and themes, checking they're all done. But now we want to look at some of the important features in the engine. Now, the engine database that we're looking at now, it has all the items here because I'm admin. For the engine for agent users, you don't see a lot of this. You might just see the ability to, I think it's the templates, DNA plans, and solicitors. That's all you can add to the system. So you can build your own templates that only show in your account. You can build your own DNA plans that only show in your account. You can also add solicitors that you want to use in your sales. So there's a few things there that you can do that don't affect the office settings. Now, if we look at some of the basics that I really want you to understand when you start as an admin user, because this will reflect to all of the users, customizations is one of the things you have to set up so that all your agents know what categories and tags they can use. You will have some default settings for lead sources in the system. I've got about 10 here. If you want to add a new lead source into here, we can put that in here. Let's just call it allhomes.com.au. It's another website that's used in Canberra, and they may want to track all the leads that come from that. So you can hit the save option, and that will put it at the top. You can also choose to turn one off. So let's just say you don't want to delete it, but you don't want any more people going in under that. You can turn it off. Or you can choose to edit it if you've spelt it incorrectly or you want to change it. Save that. And the final option is to remove. And that will clear that. So in the whole system, basically in all these categories, you have that power to add, to edit, to turn off, to remove. So lead source is pretty basic. Add your lead sources that you want guys or clients to be put in under there. In the clients area, we have our labels and tags, and this is probably the more powerful one. Every agency will have different ways on how they want to categorize people, search and find them and tag them. There's no right or wrong answer to this, but you can see some examples I have here. I'm going to add a new tag just to show you called VIP. I want to have a VIP list of clients that I can tag, find, communicate with very quickly, and you can see VIPs being added to the list. So we'll come back to adding a client tag in a second, but that's one we're going to use an example of VIP. We then have property groups, and property groups is just like a client tag, but a way of tagging properties. The main reason this was built was because agents generally work a geographical area. Let's call it a suburb. Let's call it Botany, where I'm in the office at. Now, the Botany area, I may want to break into zone 1, zone 2, zone 3, zone 4, and it just gives me a great way to target specific properties in relation to listings that I may have or sales that I've had. So I've got zone 1 here, but I want to put in here zone 2. And I'm going to save that. And again, when we're adding properties, I'll show you where we use this. But just picture this. You've sold a property. It was in Botany. It was in zone 1. And you now want to find all your appraisals in zone 1. This is how these tags will work. It will allow you to say, find the appraisals in zone 1 or 2 and SMS all those people. So, it's mainly used for breaking your geographical area into different segments. Now, commission types is generally set up. List, manage, sell. You might have other commissions that you want to track, like franchise fee or referral. Again, there's no right or wrong answer. You can add your own there. Property types are all the standard property types from realestate.com.au. You can just turn off the ones that your offices don't use, like there's livestock, medical, and consulting. You just turn those toggles on or off. You can't add or edit these because they all come from realestate.com.au. And then we get into your marketing publications and categories. And this is where we need to have these set up before you start adding your campaign items. So campaign items are a way for you to build or tracking payments of marketing or what you're doing for a property marketing-wise against them. So you can see I've got some publications there: Sydney Morning Herald, realestate.com, domain.com, Other publications you may have or suppliers, you would put them in here. And in the categories, this is basically just a way that we can categorize our marketing. So I have online, I have print. They're two pretty big ones that you would use that will generally get you most of the things that you would do in real estate, but you can create any you want, and I'll show you how they start to flow through into your campaign items. Keywords is used for our buyer searching, and it's really related to buyer specifics. So if a buyer comes to you in your area and a general thing they want is to always be Botany Bay views, so they want to have views of the water, that would be a keyword. So it's like I came into your office and said, don't tell me about a listing unless it has Botany Bay views. It's a really specific tag that you would add against their buyer criteria. And communication lists will start to become more relevant as LockedOn gets into its full automation, probably early next year. So we have subscription lists. And this is a way for you to start thinking, well, what general regular emails do I want to do in my business that people can subscribe to or unsubscribe from? So we might have a new listing alert, the monthly market update, our newsletter that goes out weekly, OFI lists. If you're using an email marketing system, which LockedOn now is, basically when you send an email out, it says, do you want to unsubscribe from this list or from every list? And they can pick. So just think of that as what email marketing would we do on a regular basis and create a list for it. And then as we start launching this feature, you'll see that automation will need marketing communication lists to know what lists we're sending to. Okay, so that's one thing that admin really has to set up. We also can lock that to admin so that any new lists that need to go in are approved by you before they go into the system, and the agents need to also go through you to get that approved. Now, we also have portal push here next to it. Very simple. We can upload to all your portals. If we're not your uploader yet, we can be. You just need to contact us. We can feed to all the main sites. Again, you wouldn't really set up anything in here. It has to come from us, but that will show you what you're uploading to. Your packs are where you install the welcome pack, the Aaron Shiner pack, gives you all the DNA plans that we'll be talking about. Again, majority of you that have LockedOn, we've installed these for you, and that will give you all our templates, SMSs for sales-related follow-up. Okay, the marketing campaign items. If we look in here, I've added 3. Sydney Morning Herald, print advertising, 5K, online advertising, feature listing for domain and real estate. Very simple. Do you want to add something to any of these databases? Use action, and we hit add campaign item. I'm going to put in a product code of REA002. So there's no right or wrong here. That's my codes for REA. The publication's REA description is just going to be online standard ad. Okay, the category will be online advertising, and that's going to cost $1,500. So we're just going to put on here standard listing on REA. Now I add this, and you can see that it puts in a campaign item. So this campaign items area is where you should have every single piece of marketing items that your company offers to vendors that has a price. Then you can start building campaigns around this, and you can add campaigns to properties. So you might have a gold, silver, bronze package. You build those packages, and then you just load it against the property with whatever they've picked, and it tells you how much they've got to spend on their property or how much you are spending. So that's where it's generally an admin job. They'll set up all your marketing items, and they can add that so that you have a total price when you're putting them against properties. All right, so the next thing is solicitors. I won't go into this one, but this is where all your solicitors are stored. We have the company, and in that solicitor firm, we have 2 people. Well, that one's a blank one, so I'll just remove it. So you can add more and more people to that firm. If you need to add a new solicitor or firm, you can hit the add solicitor option, fill in the details, and that will create a new firm and create a new person under that, which you can link to your sales advice area. Integrations is where we have all of the different third-party people that we connect to. So MessageNet is one that I would suggest everyone sets up. It's for your SMS. You do not pay for that until you start using it. So you can hit the configure option. It will then take you to this page where you set up your account. You select 6 cents a message, and you connect your SMS into LockedOn, and you pay your bill at the end of the month to MessageNet based on how many SMSs you've sent. Okay, so we will then get your username and password, and we'll set that up. HomePass is the official home open app of LockedOn. So if you haven't got a free HomePass account with us, make sure you contact us. We'll connect you with HomePass. We'll set up that account. You can be using that at your home opens, and it feeds straight into your LockedOn database. We can also capture all your leads for domain and realestate.com. Now that can work if you're an uploader from us. It works a lot better because it's all instant. But if you're not uploading from us, there is still ways that we can capture your leads from realestate.com and domain.com by connecting to their API. So connect with us. We'll send you the forms on how that all works, but your leads will come through and process into the inquiry section, and you will see all of your leads turn up here that you need to process. So just processing your leads, and every day you check how many buyer inquiries you've had, and you call those people, process them, make them a client. Okay, now also in here, we can also connect to ActivePipe, Inspect Real Estate, all homes we can capture leads for, and campaign tracks coming soon. So a few things there that you can all connect to. Now, the big things are all the templates here. Now, when you install the Aaron Shiner pack, we give you, I think it's like 60 templates, email ones, over 50 SMSs, and over 60 letters. Now, all of these come into your system. If you've set up your branding, we'll just have a quick look. The branding will automatically flow down into the system. So it's using your logo, your colors, etc., on all of the templates that we set up. If you change your colors and your logos, it updates all of these on the fly. So all of these templates are really included in all of our DNA plans. So if we go into the engine and we look at the DNA plans, these are all of the sales DNA plans we give you. So we give you a plan that we'll be going through today to work from meeting a potential seller all the way through to a settlement and anniversary. We'll show you how to set them. But you can also customize all of our plans by going into them and hitting edit. It will then load the content of all of these DNA plans, or the items in them. You can add items, remove items, turn automation on, automation off. But we'll be showing you a bit about automation as well when we look at these plans today. So you can see here we've got a few items in here, and there's a lot of power inside these DNA plans with having conditionals, which say if the vendor has an email, then automatically send an email. If not, do a letter. This SMS here, we can see that we want to turn that on as automated. So it'll actually send off the SMS automatically when we apply that plan. Okay. So we don't turn automation on for all of the plans we give you. That's up to you to do. But if I look at these first two emails and SMSs, well, I'm now going to turn on the automation option there, and we can save those so that they actually do send with automation. And we'll use that plan as a test. Okay, so that's something you can look at your own plans. And if you really want to get involved with that, support@LockedOn.com can help you with any questions you might have around automation or building plans or changing our ones. Okay, so we've gone through a little bit of the setup there, guys, with the engine and the setting up of your profiles. Let's go into the dashboard now, and we'll just turn this little toggle off. And I'll just pause the recording so we can ask questions there. All right, so part 2 of this webinar today is getting into the clients. This is where we start getting into all the fun stuff. So we're going to go through how we start to add clients into the system, the features around the clients, and how we work with buyers. So 2 core areas we'll touch on: working with buyers, working with sellers in the last section. Over here on the left-hand side of your screen, you have the clients menu. Now, when you load clients, it will show you the most recent client you've put at the top. And if you're in the client's database, this is how I like to do it. I like to go into the actions in the database. I want to add someone. There's plenty of other ways you can add someone, but you can hit the add client option here. Depending on whether you want to start by adding the client straight to your database, or you're a reception user and you've got multiple agents in your office and you want to go into inquiries, and you can actually add an inquiry here for an agent to be processed. So they've called in and you want to leave a message and have the agent call them back. That's by adding an inquiry. So an inquiry is generally not a qualified client yet. If you filled in all these details, it would add them in here as an inquiry, and the agent would have to process that by hitting the process option. They'd see an orange dot there. So just think of inquiries as like that first point of contact, whether it's come from realestate.com domain straight into the system, or it's been a phone call into the business. The receptionist would put it here, and it would be up to the agent to log into their account and process that. If we have a look at this one here, we can process, and we add them as a new client. Now, when you add them as a new client, it's going to check that this email doesn't exist and this mobile. If it does, it's going to open up the matching client. I hit the process option now, and it will then take me through to the client's database. If it's a new client, it's opened it up at the buyer criteria screen. And now I know this person's inquired on a property. I'm going to fill in the buyer criteria, but we're going to come back to this in a second. But that's how the inquiries works. All your leads come here. If you're a reception user, you add inquiries here for your agents to call back. So in the client section here now, we'll go into the actions, add client. And if you're adding a new person, if you're admin, you can see who you can add that to. I'm going to put it to myself. We'll put in my details. Okay, we're going to put in my mobile and my email. You can see that when we're adding the mobile email, it's telling me that this person's already in the system and it's matched them. So now that we've got a match, it says click add client to be taken to them. If you don't have a match, the add client will create a new client. If you do have a match, the add client will open up the match that you have. Now this is opening up my record of Luke and Natalie that I already have. You can see here that the contacts area is the first page it will take you to when adding a new client. If the client's record has more than one contact, so husband, wife, maybe their child, you can add as many clients as you want. So we're going to put in here Austin Newton, which is my son's name, and we can fill in details about that particular person. Now, this is kind of important because each person has their own contact details, numbers, emails, etc. If Luke wanted to unsubscribe from SMS, we could edit his record and unsubscribe him from SMS. If Luke unsubscribes from an email, it will automatically update this area. Okay, Luke may unsubscribe, but Natalie doesn't want to unsubscribe, so she will still get emails from us. So every individual contact on a client card has their own settings there. So that's where you can control their settings, their details, and the edit contact information. So we'll just remove this one for now, and we'll leave it as the husband and wife. Now, the easiest way to learn navigation around the system is to start on the left and work your way across to the right. That goes for clients and properties, and that's what I'm going to do with you today. So in the summary, it just gives you a little bit of an overview and all of the notes or activity that you've done with your clients. So in all activity, it shows everything. But if I just want to see the notes, we can see that there. If I want to see the communications that I've made, so that may be letters, emails, SMSs, I can filter that. I can see all the tasks I've completed from follow-up or DNAs. I can see all the inquiries they've made and all the inspections they've made. But again, if you go back to all activity, it shows all of this in date and time order. Now, to add a new note against a client, we use the actions option. I've touched on this a few times already, but if you're on a record or you want to add something to your database, the action and send button will always be at the top right. So to do something on this record, I want to add a note. We are going to put test note. We can see that it's got the date and time there, and we can add that. We can see that the note is added. Okay, so that's pretty much the summary page. The information is where it starts to get a lot more powerful. So we now want to track where they came from as in their lead source. I've already got domain there, and I've ticked them as a potential seller, which means they're flagged and they own a property. We'll come back to this. We can also see that the primary agent is Andrew Chin. So he's the person that met me. And we've got secondary agents on this. So Dave, Luke, I can add Ian to this record. By adding more agents, it unlocks this client card to those agents. Okay, so if you're an admin user, you can take people off. If you're an agent user, you can't. So you can see that we can tick and remove people, and then we can actually update that information. And we've only got the Andrew on there at the moment. We can then remove, I think we should be able to remove Luke. Maybe not because I went logged in as Luke. There we go, yep. So it's removed Luke and Andrew's the only person. But I want to change this to being Luke as the primary agent, remove Andrew, and update that. So you can see that admin has a bit of power to update that. Agents won't have that power to remove people off it if they're on it. So we have some important notes about the person, and then we get into the client tags, which is the one I really want to spend some time on. So I added a new list called VIP. I want to add Luke into that VIP list. So now I can go into my clients, and we can now search all of the VIP tags I have or clients by using the filter option at the top of the screen. So we'll see the filter or the funnel. I select VIP and it brings up all my VIP clients. Now I have a small database. You're going to find more and more people. I want to use my VIP and also my investor list. So that's combining the two lists. I also want to add my buyer category hot. It now has 3 filters, this one or this one or this one, and we're combining 3 tags together. Now with these 3 tags, what I want to do is SMS, email, or letter them. I hit the SMS send option and I have those 3 options. So I want to send an SMS to that list. It will load my blank template as a default. With that blank template, I can now make changes. Text goes here. I then want to update that preview. It shows me what the SMS will look like. I can choose to send it from me or any agent in my office, or I can select it to come from the primary assigned agent. I can choose to send that now or send it later, and I want to program that in to go tomorrow at 2:27. And down the bottom, all I need to do is hit send SMS. It's going to 2 people that have mobile numbers. So you can see there's a fair bit of power in there in relation to what you can do with communicating. But hopefully what you can see there is that tags are really, really, really important because they allow you to easily find groups of people, combine those groups and communicate with them. So make sure your tags are right, you're categorizing people correctly, because it will save you a lot of time when you just want to go find, list, send or print. And there's a PDF option there to print that client list that you may have filtered. Okay, so we'll search for my record, and the best way to search for clients is to come in, use the top search. We'll type in there Newton. You can search on name, email, mobile, postal. We've got a few Newtons in there. I put my whole family in my test database, and we'll bring up my record. So in the information, we've looked at your tags, your categories, agents, etc. We already know the contacts as well. We can add more people. But as we start to work with people, the first one I want to explain to you is our buyers. Now, most of the time when you come in here, your buyer won't be active. And if we look at the criteria, you won't have a criteria set. So I'm just going to delete that on my record. A new buyer that's going into the system, you turn them as active, and then that will add a buyer criteria for you. Now with your buying criteria, you can give it labels. You don't have to, but labels are going to help you because you can add multiple buying criteria. So Luke and Natalie might be looking for a house that's already built, but they also may have a price range for a specific block of land that they want. So let's put in here house. And we're going to use sales. If you're in rentals, we now give you the ability to match to rental properties. So you can use this as the same tools we're showing you now for managing your rentals and finding potential tenants. If you're rentals related, add buyers in under rentals. We can then see that we have the bedrooms in here. So we can go into bedrooms, might be looking for two bathrooms and one garage. The property types I want is a house. They may look at a townhouse. And also, let's just put in their apartment if it's the right fit. In your suburbs, we just start typing and I can start searching for all of the areas that I want. We got Botany there. We want to put in Sans Souci, so a few suburbs that I know I've got listings in. Okay, any keywords we want to put in. This is where I spoke to you before. Now, a keyword, they want to be Botany Bay views. It will only match listings that have this keyword. Even if all this criteria matches above, it's in their price range, it's in their suburb, it's the same beds and bath, but it doesn't have views, it won't match them. So this is a really, really powerful one in the keywords. You only use this if your buyer is super fussy. So I'm going to turn that off, and I'm going to put in a price range. Now, all your buyers should have a price range. So let's just say he's looking from 250 up to 3 million. Big price range, but it's just a test. So looking at this now with my database of small listings, I think I got about 7. We're matching 4 properties here for my house criteria. I may add another criteria here just quickly that they are looking for a block of land. So we're going to call this land, and we'll put in here land residential, and the price range is going to be from 100,000 to 800. So they would buy a block of land if it was in the right area in that price range, because they can then budget to build, and I've got no matching properties on that at the moment. So house, land, you can have as many as you want. You may have investment unit. Another agent may add a different buying criteria for them, but this is really, really powerful, compounding your actual matches or buying criteria for someone. You can delete it by hitting the trash can there as well to get rid of that. So if we now look at the properties area here, in the matches, we can see there's my 4 matching properties. When you have a buyer that you put into the system and they've got a list of properties that match, you go into the send option and you can hit send email. One of the templates we give you as a default template in your system is called the buyer match. So in the blank template loads our blank one. We don't want to use that. I'm going to search for buyer match template. And the buyer match template will load my subject, your matching properties. It will have a message, hi recipient name. Here is a list of all the properties that match your criteria. For information, please contact me. And there we can see the 4 matching properties. It's got links to go through to our websites. You can customize any of this text you want here and then update your preview and then send that off or add attachments. I'm going to choose to send this now and hit send. That's a really good thing to do whenever you meet a new buyer. Put them in, find what they match, send them off a buyer match template. And we're going to check that in my inbox to see how that comes over. But you can see it's already branded. It's always going to merge the properties that relate to them. So you don't have to change your template too much. You might change some wording, but as long as you see the text, the properties, and hit send, that's a really good first impression for a buyer. Okay, so back at our information, buyer criteria. We've gone through that in detail. Last thing is documents. So just think of it like a Dropbox. You can upload any file against any client or any property in the Documents tab. You can then download that, or you can copy a URL to send them a link and say, hey, download this offer letter you may have submitted. So there'll be a lot more features around this with your templates soon. Okay, so into the next tab that I want to show you with buyers is activity. Now, in this one says, I'll just remove that. So that's a blank one. So with the buyer activity, there's 4 main levels of interest. We have inquiries, inspections, contracts they've requested, and offers they've submitted. Now, this is my test client. You can see there's a bit of information added against them. Generally, if we set up your leads being captured from REA, domain, all homes, or your website, you can do it as well. If you web developers want to connect with us, we can show them the forms they need to put on. You don't have to really be doing this too much because it automatically happens. But if you want to add an inquiry manually or an inspection manually, you can go to Actions, Add Inquiry. And let's add one for today for 8 Skinners. Let's just say that it was Luke that inquired. The agent was me. It was today. We're going to put in a lead source that came from real estate, and we're just going to put in here, interested, and hit Add. So you can now see that by date order, that's the most recent inquiry they've had. All your inspections, we set you up with HomePass. So if you're using HomePass, it will automatically sync all your inspections you do when you use that app straight into the system. But again, you can add one by going Add Inspection, select your property, and add in the date. It was at 9 a.m. We say that they rated it 10 stars. Okay, again, it came from realestate.com. Price guide was 800,000. Your private notes about the person, first home buyer. Okay, vendor notes is keen on your house, and then you hit Add, and it adds it against it. Now, if it's an appointment that's in the future, it gives you the ability to sync that to Apple, Google, Outlook, or Yahoo, and then we can see that we've got that there. Now, your contracts, some people do this, some people don't, especially if auctions, you want to record to your vendor who's taking contracts on the property. So again, it's just as simple as Actions, Add Contract, fill in the details. Offers are very basic as well. Every offer you get, you should be tracking against your buyer that links to the property. So Luke's already made 2 offers on 8 Skinners, which I accidentally just clicked, which took us to that. I'll just go back to our client so we can get back to there. Okay, so the activity is you tracking all the information about your buyer, what they've done, so it links to your property so you can have really good vendor reports. If we look at this, inquiry should be automatic, inspections automatic. You have to do your contracts and offers manually. The next tab is your history, which shows you a history of all the emails you've sent them. We now have tracking in here, so you can see this one's sent, hasn't been opened yet. We know that this one's been opened. They've opened it 2 times. You can see here if they have attachments that you sent with it. One of them does there. So it was a report I sent. You can also view that by hitting the view option. That's the email we sent them, and we can close that. This is the buyer match one, so it's saying I haven't opened that. We can see here is my inbox. There's my matching buyer's email that I sent to myself. And you can see it's really nicely formatted, nice branding. We can click on those to go to it. If we refresh this later on, it will track that I have opened that. SMSs are the same. We can see what's been sent at what date and time. And there's the text there. Okay, I'm going to come back to tasks to finish off this section, but this is super powerful for buyers. So now that you know how to put buyers in, track their activity and their comments, let's go into the properties database. I'm going to search my property 8 Skinners, and we're now going to look at how you start to use buyers on your actual properties that you've got. So in the property 8 Skinners, which is a listing we have set up, we're going to go into pretending we've got a new listing and looking at how we would use our buyers on that. So the first thing is pretty obvious. When you do an appraisal or a listing, you can actually use buyer match to see how many buyers you have that suit this property. So the first thing would be around launching a property. I've only got a small database, guys, but your database will match a lot more. When you have a new listing, you can do whatever you want, email, letter, or SMS, but it's a matter of matching the buyers first. So with this list of people that we have, we can now go to send, SMS, email, or letter. If we go into the email option, I have 4 people that have emails. I can now choose my template, which it loads to the blank, but I'm going to use the just listed template. The just listed template, which is in all of your accounts, will then load the property that you're on, the standard just listed with your logos, your colors, the information of the property, the agents, and it's now ready to send by going down to selecting who you want to send it from, an agent or the agent who's assigned to the buyer record. You can send that now or send it later by booking it in and hit the send option to send that off. Okay, again, when we send that email, we can then start to see who's clicked on it, who's opened that email and who hasn't in relation to that in our email reports. Okay, the reporting is held over here in the report section in emails, and there we can see it was my last buyer match one that I sent, and I can see that I've opened that there. Okay, opened Luke Newton was the one that I sent to you before myself that I showed you here. So every email is tracked, not even just your bulks, but every email. So we'll go back into the properties, we'll go to A Skinners, and that's how we send off an email or SMS to the list of buyers using the buyer match. Also, as I mentioned before, if you put an appraisal in, once you put your appraisal in, use the buyer match. You'll see how many people you have that could match that appraisal. This is what I want to show you in the activity though. During a campaign, you are tracking all the inquiries, all the inspections, all the contracts and all the offers, and this is what compiles into your vendor report. So at any stage during the campaign, you might go, geez, I've had a price reduction, or we've just sold that, or we've got the auction tomorrow. And you want to communicate with a very specific group of buyers, which is the people that are on this property. What we're going to do now is go into the activity section against the property, use the send option, which knows we're on the activity tab, and say send SMS. So far, we're targeting our inquiries. I want to also target any person who's inspected it, taken a contract, or submitted an offer. So now I have a list of 8 buyers. I'm going to go to the template area. I can use my blank to create a custom message to these people, or I can look at my price reduction template that I have, which will load in all the merge tags in relation to this property. So it's going to merge in the property address, the new price, the listing agent's name and details. We can then confirm how many people it's going to, which is 8. And if it's over 4 people, I think you have to confirm how many it's going to. Send it now or send it later. But that's a personalized SMS to all of the people who've had any interest on that property. Now, there's 4 key things that every agent should be doing as SMS whenever you have a property listed, and that is a price reduction. Should be SMS to all these people straight away. When the listing sells, you should be updating all the buyers that had any interest that it's sold. When you list another one that's similar or in the same street, you should SMS all these people letting them know there's a new listing. And when you have an auction, you want to send out an auction reminder to all these people before the auction. So think of that. SMS is super powerful because it's 99% open rate, it's fast, it's cheap, and you'll get replies instantly. But you should always be tracking your buyers so that you have that power to do those, send SMS or email to these targeted groups. We're going to look at the vendor report when we talk about properties listings in a second. Okay, so you've seen how you can start to really use the buyers against a particular property. All of this information feeds in your vendor reports, and you also have the buyer match option to see a most up-to-date list of the current buyers you have that match it. Now, I just showed you a just listed, but there's nothing stopping you from saying, hey, I've got 400 buyers, I want to send a price reduction email, or I want to send a just sold email to them. You know, as long as you know how to get here and use the send option, you can do whatever email you want. Let's go back into my record though. Pretending I'm a buyer, this is the last thing I want to show you in the buyer session. Every buyer you put into the system, not every buyer, but every sort of hot buyer that you promised you would follow up, I want you to get into the habit of going to actions, create task. Now with the actions, create task option, if you promise to call a buyer or they make an offer or you said, I'll give you a call every month to update you on the market, there's some really powerful things you can do by just doing one phone call. So we're going to put in here monthly buyer call or /update. I'm going to put it as a phone call. I'm going to choose to start that from tomorrow, and I have an option to repeat. Now, if you don't repeat this, it's just a one-off call on that date, but I actually want to repeat this 1 month forever. It will repeat this task every month forever now until I decide not to call that buyer again, or I can say repeat it 10 times, so it will last for 10 months. Now in the notes, we're just going to put in here monthly buyer update, see if they have found something or we have any new listings coming. All right, so we hit the add option, and this is really, really powerful, your reoccurring task for buyers. If every buyer you met just said, I'm going to call you every 3 months and put a reoccurring task on that, I guarantee your business would boom with the amount of buyers you're probably meeting. And they're going to buy, they're going to sell, but you need to have really good follow-up with them. And it's not hard to do a phone call every 3 months to see how they're going, but you would just set a reoccurring task for 3 months. Now that shows in the task here with a little reoccurring symbol which says repeat every month 10 times. If I look in my task list now, don't have any due today, but tomorrow, there's the first monthly call. I can hit the complete option. It gives me all of their details here. I've got my important notes that Luke supports the Manly Sea Eagles, so we can actually chat to him about how well they're going or how bad they're going, and how they've got a new coach, but that's all irrelevant. We can then go into the call notes area, and you can see your notes. When you finish the call, you can make new notes. There's some options here as well to reschedule the call, but if it's a reoccurring one, sometimes you don't need to reschedule it, but these actually tell you how to reschedule or move your call. And if you want to see all your past notes on the client, here they are here. So this is like a log of everything you've ever done with the person, so you don't have to leave this screen. That's really, really powerful when you're calling someone. You would probably have a read of that before you actually dialed the number, see what you've done, what emails you've sent them, etc. When you have finished that call, you can hit complete. Now, completing a reoccurring call will actually then schedule in the next call. So we should see, when did I complete that? Yesterday. So I was here, I completed it today. We'll go back into Luke and Natalie's record. And if we look at the tasks, we can now see the monthly buyer call is due in a month on December the 8th because we completed the one that was due. This is reoccurring and it's going to complete another 9 times. You can see that it's gone down 1. The only way to stop a reoccurring task is to kill the next one in the occurrence. So if I said, Luke or Natalie said, look, stop calling me. You're actually too good. We don't need to talk to you every 3 months or every month. You can then delete that. And they may say, look, only call us every year. So you might go into actions, create task, and you would set up a new one called yearly call. Might be a phone call. You want to repeat this every 1 year, and you're going to do it forever. And you start it from the date in a year's time, and it would book that in and then repeat that every year. So buyer follow-up, there is seriously nothing better than promising them that you will call them every X amount of days and sticking to that. The feedback and the response you will get from people will be outstanding. Trust me, I've done it before. We do it with our clients. It's very, very easy to set reoccurring appointments and speak to people when you promised you would using that system. So we'll just delete that task as well against my record. Okay, so that brings us to an end of the second session, working with buyers, setting follow-ups, tracking criteria, how we buyer match them to their properties, how we match them to a listing and send off alerts, and how we track the activity for our vendor reports. We'll just pause the screen and go into any questions we have there. All right, in this third session, we're going to look at the money-making session, which, we all make money in real estate with potential sellers. People that own properties is what we are trying to do. And on the dashboard here is 29 that I have in my account. If there's any advice I can give you is really, really monitor that number. Make sure it's growing. Potential sellers, the definition of it is you know them, they know you, they own a property in your area. If I click on this from the dashboard, it loads my potential sellers. Now that number is being calculated from this area here in information, potential sellers. So when you turn that on, it gives you one extra number on your dashboard for that particular flag. So as I mentioned before, a potential seller definition means you know them, they know you, they own a property in your area. By looking at this in the properties, we can see that Luke has 2 properties linked to him. One is exchanged and one is settled. So we've sold a property for him and we've got one that's pending sale at the moment. Obviously, the more properties you see there, the more important that person is. But if I'm Luke and I have another investment property, to add that against me, you hit the actions and you say link property. The process to doing everything right with LockedOn is generally start with a client because everything attaches to that. So you put your buyer in first, you put your vendor in first, and you attach the buying criteria to them and you attach the property that they own to them. So you have 2 options here. You can create a new property against Luke, or you can link his postal address property. By doing the postal address, it just fills in his postal address automatically as the property that he owns in the area. So we're going to say that 21 Pindari Terrace against Luke now is a property in an area that we could sell. We're going to make sure it's a sales property, it's residential, and we can select the property type as a house. And we then hit add property. That will then attach a new property record to our vendors that you can see over here on the right-hand side of the screen to Luke and Natalie as a potential. So if I take you back to their record and we now look at the properties area, they've got 3 properties attached to them. This one is potential. By going into this, it takes you back to the property record. Now, this may prompt you to remember what I said in the first part of clients. Always start left to right. Generally, you want to start in the summary and work your way through. And that's the sales cycle as well, going left to right. So on the summary, you would add any notes about this property. So we're going to put in here, add note, which is here. And we can say, Luke and Nat need to sell this to buy in Dole's Point again. That's a note that relates to the property and why they may be giving you this lead. We then go into the information, general things about the property. So a lot of the top's already done. You've got an assigned agent, which is me. You can invite a secondary agent to see this if you need. If you work in a team, you can put your PA on that as well. Generally, your PA will have access to your records, but that's a way to assign someone else for DNA plans. And we also have the address, but now we get into the essentials. So beds, bath, car, our property keywords, which I spoke to you all before about. We can actually say that this one has Botany Bay views. So this is really more around when you list the property, but there's no harm in adding these when you're putting records in. If your company wants to use keywords, try and get into the habit of tagging your keywords when you put a new record in. Okay, it's Botany Bay views and walk to shops. The groups I want to put that in, well, I'm going to put it in zone 1 because it's in zone 1 of my botany area. Agency reference numbers, usually these are all used when we get the property listed. Key reference, alarm code, and any notes to go on our stock list. So we can save that information now, and in the information area, we can start to add more about the land. So size, you might say 660. Aspect is east. Okay, internal square meters, external balconies, zoning. Save all of that. We can also go into our features, which is all of this stuff relates to uploading when you get a listing generally, but as you start ticking them, you can see it puts the features there. We won't save that, but you can see the documents now. I can start to upload any contracts, agency agreements, anything I want to save against the property, we can put there in the documents area. So now that we have the information all sorted, the general tab, the property status is potential. This is where I want to explain to you the 5 main statuses of properties selling in Australia and New Zealand. There's really 5 core things that you need to have good DNA plans around. We give you all of these plans to take you from each one of these stages to the next. The first stage is a potential. You'll get a lead through prospecting, through marketing, through referrals. You should add that client. You add that property as a potential, and we're going to teach you the plan to set in a second. From that, you build a relationship and you get it to an appraisal. Hopefully you set your plan, you follow up that appraisal, you win that business, it becomes a listing. We market it successfully. It then goes through to exchange to unconditional, and we then nurture it through to settlement. And when it settles, guess what? We transfer the property to the new owner. They then become a potential of that property. They have an anniversary plan set against them so that you should never lose that business. We give you all of this to get started. So if this property is a potential, we'll keep it as potential at the moment. We've got our vendors, Luke and Natalie Newton here. I'm pretty sure they have my email against them. We're going to look at the task and start explaining the DNA plans. So in the actions here, we are now going to hit apply DNA. The first DNA plan, all of our plans are in number order. You can follow our number order and build your own if you want, but you know, number 1 is potential, number 2 is appraisal, 3 is listing, 4 is the under offer, then we have 5 exchange, 5 is exchange, 6 is settlements. So when we meet a new lead, you always set your potential plan. We're going to start it from today and hit apply. This plan that I just set, that I showed you in the first section of today's training, has the SMS straight away, which says it's nice to meet you. And it also has the email, which sends off a list of testimonials. I think it's testimonials, or it's an email that goes out automatically if your vendor has an email. So it's setting this plan here. Okay, it's got this task is due a few seconds ago. That was due in a day. This one's due in 19 days. So it's got a whole lot of follow-up. With all of our plans, this is where some amazing power. They all have a repeat option at the end of the plan. So you never lose contact with any potential appraisal, sale you make, because there is always repeating tasks. As a default, we have a potential appraisal yearly follow-up call for your agent to speak to them every year. Okay, that will keep firing every year so that any lead your agents meet, if they don't convert them within the first 4 months, there's a follow-up call every year just to speak to that person. Now, on top of that, your office should be doing a lot of bulk marketing, reporting, emails, newsletters. They're going to get a lot of contact from you, but there should be at least one yearly call to them. If I look at the completed list here now, oops, might have to just reload that one, sorry. We should see that the email to those clients or those vendors was fired off, and the SMS had fired off to them. So just can't reload on the task screen. It's one of the only screens. And we'll just load this up. Go into my properties after this. Okay, in the properties, I just want to sort this, or you can let it load, and we'll sort it from newest to oldest, so it should have my property at the top. Go into the task, tells me everything that we've got left on this particular property, and then the completed shows me there's the SMS sent. Okay, so the SMS has been sent automatically, and I turned my phone off for the meeting, but that's now been an SMS that's sent to our vendor. Okay, throughout that task, there's, this is the email here that has automation on it that's due, and that will automatically go in a day's time to our client. Okay, so that's the power of the automation. Any SMS, email, and you build nice templates, you can have automatically go out. You'll see where this becomes quite crazy with your appraisals and your settlements when we get into those plans. So every day you're coming in and you're checking your tasks. It's telling you what to do, and you complete those. So you can complete it, add some notes, just put in here test, and then we can complete that task, and that's marked off. You can also download the LockedOn app for your iPhone, and you can do your tasks on your phone calls and your tasks, and complete those. You can flick through the days to see what you've got on in those days, and if you go into your calendar as well, the calendar shows you a little dot here with how many tasks you have due on those days and what appointments you have. Okay, so the task is something you have to come into every day, see, print your task list off if you want to do them, and your overdue is always everything that you haven't completed due before today's date. So try not to let that get too out of control. You don't want to really have a lot of overdue tasks showing. Okay, so back in the properties area, we'll go back into my property. Pindari. Okay, so in that property, in the task section, when a task comes up that's an email, an SMS, or a letter, all you need to do is hit the complete option. So if I hit complete now, I actually want to send this, it will merge the email with all the details of the vendors we're sending it to. It'll have the email already written with your branding on it, merging in the details that it needs with your signature. Now that would send automatically. You wouldn't have to worry about that. You just get a reply saying, oh, thanks for that email, Luke. And that's, this is the power of all the emails if you want to turn on that automation. But we want you to try and not turn on automation straight away, because you want to approve your emails and understand what's going out. Okay, so we can see there's an SMS. If I hit that, that will load the SMS going out to the vendors. Again, it can be automatic, or you just have to hit the send option to send that. And there'll be letters in there, but mainly we'll try and do emails and SMSs for a lot of this follow-up. And your listings, there's a few letters. Okay, so hopefully what will happen is that by this communication, automation going out, you've proven to be an agent that really stands out. And the client says, look, we'd love to have an appraisal with you. At that point, you would update your status to appraised, update the status here, so the property status is updated. In the life cycle tab, you're now moving through the life cycle. So appraisal is the next step from potential, and we need to start tracking some information. So we're going to book in an appraisal for tomorrow, 9 a.m. We're going to book an hour, and we're going to set that appointment. Let's pretend that's passed now. Their price, they want $880. Your price, you reckon it's worth $900 to, let's say, $1 million. Your estimated commission you're going to charge is 2%, and you can see it's worth $19,000. You can put in any notes here that you want. You can then update and save that appraisal. Because it's in the future, it's asking, do you want to book this into any of your calendars? And we just say no there. So the appraisal is now being booked in. When you move from one step to the next, you've got to set the next plan in the sequence. So going from a potential, we now want to book in the next appraisal. We're going to go to the tasks option, and you can see here that we have a number 1 plan set. Now, this plan is no longer relevant. You've gone from the potential to an appraisal. So we can use the filter option to filter all the potential appraisal items that we have still that haven't been completed, we can use select all, and we can now delete those tasks. Deleting a plan before you're setting a new one is always the best step, but you can delete a plan after you've set another one. So I've cleared the slate, and now I want to set the next one in the sequence, and we're going to apply the DNA, and that's a number 2 appraisal plan, and we'll apply that from today. Now this plan is going to apply all the follow-up for our listing agent or secondary agents, depending on how you built your plan. And again, this should have a lot of automation in it. It's going to send off automatically our testimonial video. It's going to have a go forward plan letter. Now this is good because I can show you how a letter works. So you can see that if it shows in your task as a letter, you can just hit the complete option. It's going to prepare that. It will then tell you when it's merging and when it's complete, and you can download that Word file. Okay, so it's the same button you'll see in your task list that you'll see here against the property. So it's preparing, merging, and then we will have a complete option there for this letter to be downloaded as a Word file. And we can see, I'll just save that and then open it. Word takes a little bit to open on my computer, so we'll just let that do its thing and I'll come back to it. But you can now see that that's completed and in our completed list. What I wanted to show you with your appraisals is we get into some really, really good stuff at the end. So we have an appraisal generic contact. Every year, after you've completed an appraisal, if you have not converted them, it is going to send off this SMS. Now it has a really powerful merge tag in it called properties years ago. So pretend it's been a year, it's been 2 years, sorry. It's going to say, Luke, it's been 2 years since I appraised your home. How time flies. As part of my service, I want to reappraise property on a regular basis. If you're interested, reply to this message. They get that message 2 years after. 3 years after, it says, I appraised your property 3 years ago. As an owner of a business, if you have all of your agents putting in appraisals to the system, and you know that there's a phone call for them to do every year and an automatic SMS, you can have peace of mind that every appraisal that goes into this database is being contacted on a yearly basis to see if they want a reappraisal. Now, your agent's phone in 2 years' time might just go, bing, yes, I'd love to have a reappraisal. It's been 2 years, come and see me. And they go, who's that? And they look up their number, they've got them. You know, that's going to start happening as you start setting these plans with reoccurring and automation in them. So really, really powerful on appraisals and settlement. We've got just an SMS and a phone call for your agent every time. So you've appraised the property, and generally 1 or 2 things are going to happen. You're going to win or lose that. I want to show you what happens if you lose it. So it's not the best thing that can happen, but if you do lose that, you should come in here, find all the items on your appraisal plan that you've got set against the property. And once you have that loaded, we then want to select all, and you want to remove your follow-up appraisal. You don't want to be calling your vendor or sending out any automation stuff when they've told you they've listed with someone else. In the actions apply DNA here, we give you a plan which is lost appraisal. And you set that from the day you found out you lost it. This is then setting a whole lot of emails and SMSs and phone calls for you to keep in contact with them whilst they're on the market to make sure that everything goes well. And if it doesn't, hopefully you can relist it. So that's a pretty basic one there. I'm then going to select and delete that just so we've got a clean slate. Now, let's hope that everything goes well. The DNA plans we give you awesome follow-up. You're a standout. All the other agents didn't follow them up. So now that you have this set against your client, your follow-up appraisal plan, they say, look, we'd love to list with you. Now in the life cycle, that's when you go to the listing tab and you would update the status of this property from appraised to listed. I'm not going to update this one for us right now, but what I want to do is go into my properties and use the 8 Skinners property. I can use my filter here to show the listings. And I've got to know that 8 Skinners is there. Oh, sorry, I'll just show you that letter that merged before whilst that's opening. So there it is there, letter to your client, merged about their property. It's got all the agent's details in there and our go forward plan checklist. And there's another one there for the secondary person who has their own postal address as well. Okay, so we have all the letter merging going out. All the letters are set up to merge into a window-faced card envelope. So you just fold them, put them in, print and send. So with the property now that's listed, we go into life cycle, listing, and I want you to fill in all this information. Private, if it's an auction, you set the auction date. Date listed, when you receive the contract. Sometimes they're the same date. When it's going to expire is really important. If they ever come off the market, track when it was withdrawn. And we want to track the date you launched it for your days on market in your vendor report. So you may have listed it the 25th, but you didn't start launching it till 5 months later in this case. If you're a listing agent, you have a team, well, you're the main agent. You can have a secondary agent, you can have a property PA, and you can have a vendor manager. In our plans, we have a lot of tasks that relate to these people. If you're a single agent and you don't have a team like this, it doesn't matter. The plan will always roll back to the listing agent if these are empty. You put in your price, we put in our sorting, the vendor paid amount, and all our strata and tenants details if we need to link a tenant and save that. Now, when you've entered in all of that, you've got a listing on the market. We won't go into the marketing yet, but generally the first thing you do is fill this in. You've got your agency agreement. You can select your solicitor here on the right. I've already attached one. This one's already got a purchaser as well and purchase solicitor. But we then want to set our new listing plan. So we're going to go into the Apply DNA and we set our new listing awaiting contracts. Now, a lot of states are different. You may not have to await contracts, you do your own. It doesn't really matter what this is called. It's the first plan you set. And it's a series of things to do to get your property ready to go to market. So we hit this plan, we apply it, and a lot of things will happen for the vendor manager, the property PA, the secondary listing agent, or the listing agent in the task here for us to get this property ready to go to market. Okay, there's two plans set here, so I didn't remove one before. This is a really good example. I can now say, whoops, that potential appraisal one shouldn't be there. I've filtered to it, and I'm going to delete all of those. And I just want to keep the new listing one there now, so we can come back in and refresh the task, and we just have the one plan set against that property there now. So here we have the plan to get the property to go to market, and all of these would generally be completed within a short period of time. You can see that it's 10, 14 days, 2 weeks that we really want to complete everything and make sure this property is ready to go to market. Now, in that time, we're getting the marketing. So we add the details, the heading, the summary. We want to put in some brochure summary here, so it's really short text. Inquiry response text is a new feature we'll be launching soon for when inquiries come in. You can have some different text to go in there. Key features of the property, which can be listed on your property email that I'll show you in a second. But key features, if you want to manually type them, we're just going to put in there concrete pool, and we'll put in there jetty, and we also might put in private beach access, and you'll see where these come up soon. Now, your third-party IDs, guys, this is for when you want to start tracking leads or you're using HomePass. Again, if where you're uploaded to all these sites, you do not have to worry about that. If you are capturing leads and we don't upload for you, or we're not connecting to HomePass, or we're not your uploader for HomePass, you have to put in these IDs. We'll explain that to you when you contact us. Some people already know how that works, but we've got a website link here, which should be generally always use your site URL for the property, so we can have that on our brochure. Video link goes there, uploads to websites, and then we have your virtual tour link there as well, and we can save that. So one of the first things you do when you've got the property marketed, you add in all your text. You're going to tick it ready to market. Ready to market means it will be included in your emails and buyer matches. Of course, you want to start advertising it. You can set it up all of this without having it ready to market. It means that it will not be emailed to your clients until you tick the ready to market option. You can see you can display the address or display price there as well. Images is really basic. You upload these, you can drop and drag and change the format of them, whatever you need to do. That order is what they upload in, and your floor plans. You can then set up your open times. That uploads to portals, and uploading to portals when you're ready to go is a matter of coming in here, marking it as current, selecting what portals you want it to go to and what portals you do not want it to go to, and then hitting the upload option will send it through to those portals. Now, we upload to portals pretty much instantly. It's up to them how long they process your file, but quickest I've seen it go through from us to REA is probably within 2 minutes. So it'll hit our servers within a minute, it'll hit their servers within the next minute, and then they process it. Some of these websites say they take an hour or up to 4 hours to process. It's all dependent on them. So now that we have all this information in and we've got the marketing, you can also start booking in your campaign. So to add a campaign item against that, you can go into the actions. We can then add a campaign, and we can load a DNA plan, which is your gold, silver, bronze. So this is just being launched now. You can market a gold campaign against them, or you can choose to just add off individual items. So this property, we just want to put in realestate.com feature ad, and it's added that against them. And we're also going to go to actions, add marketing campaign. We're going to do a domain feature. So we're going to push this property hard on both of them. Okay, so we can see that we've got that in there. We've got a finish date that we can edit, which means when's that actually going to appear. We're going to start that from the 14th. Okay, so this is just like a booking date. When did it start, or when did that ad appear? And we've booked that in there now. In the life cycle area, in the listings, we have in here a VPA agreed amount. So for that VPA agreed amount, let's say it's $10,000. They've agreed to pay for their marketing campaign. When we look at the marketing and in the payments area, they've got in here no payments. They've agreed to pay 10. We can then add a payment that they paid us today up front, $10,000, and that payment was in cash, and we hit add payment. So now we have a $10,000 payment allocated to that, and it's $14,000 so far that they've got in there with their campaign items. Okay, so that's where you track payments, that's where you add items or campaign plans. So this all happens when you get all the marketing details set up. And generally, the next step is, guys, that you will go into what I showed you before, buy a match, have your buyers, we hit send, email. We're now ready to launch this property. So the first thing we want to do is send a just listed off to all of the buyers about this. So giving them a VIP exclusive look at this before it goes to market. Okay, we can see here we've got all the details added. We got the buttons, and you would hit send. So I walked over that with you before, but that's how you launch the property. The property's on the market. You're doing all the things you do as an agent, following up your vendor. You're tracking all your buyer criteria, and this is where you need to now know how to do your vendor reports. So in the vendor report section, to add a vendor report each week, you go into actions, and you are going to use the add vendor report button. You do that from a weekly basis. So we might say it was last Wednesday to this Wednesday. You then put in your summary for what's happened with the activities, the inspection feedback summary, and a report summary, and then you have some settings down the bottom you can turn on or off. This is what one looks like when you set it up. I'll just change this to be from 19/11/2017 to now. So you can have as long as date range as you want, but I would recommend doing them weekly. We edit that report, and you have two options. You can choose to download this as a PDF. So it will be a PDF that you can print, go and sit down with your vendor, and it will have your colors, property photos as a cover page, go into a campaign summary, break down the lead sources for that date range from your inquiries, show all inquiries, all inspections for that date range with names, comments, prices, and we can see there's quite a few. Then it goes into all the contracts and all the offers and your summary at the bottom. Now the second option, which is the preferred option, is you actually go email. What this will do is open up the listings vendor report email template. This template is a template in the engine area that you can fully customize yourself. This is our base template. I've seen some good designs of people that have mocked up their own, but we're just using a whole series of tags and putting in some branding and colors. They will get this email from you with the photo of their property, a nice color there, and then, hi Alex, below is your update for the date range. Activity on that property for that date range is summarized in numbers. Please download the PDF for a detailed report. Then we have the key notes. Your property online would show their web address that we have in there. They can click on that, and then it's got the current price, they're being advertised, and the agent's details. Any of that text you can customize there. You can see that the report is attached in the attachments area, and then you can just hit the send option, and that will then send off to our recipients, Alex Moffat, who is the vendor of that property. Okay, the vendor report email has been getting great feedback in regards to the look of it and the PDF that they get, very, very detailed. So to do that, it's just there. But each week you have to actually go actions, add vendor report, and put in your comments for that week. So now that you know how to do your vendor report, you know how to track all the inspections, communicate with your buyers through that, we're hopefully progressing that you get an offer on a property. And that is when we go into the listing section. We go to the listing, and in the price here, we say offer accepted under offer. You would then marketing. Oh, whoops, I've got to save that. Click save. If you want to upload your property as under offer to all the portals, you go into marketing, portals, it says current, and you hit upload. But the next step you want to do when you actually get an offer is fill in your sales advice. So it's gone under contract. Let's just use today's day. I'll just play with this one, sorry. Oops, there we are. November the 7th, went under contract, sold by me. We're expecting exchange to be in 5 days after the cool off. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, the 12th. And settlement, we can just put in an estimate there. We'll just say it's going to be the end of November for now. Okay, now we sold it for 1.15. Our commission percentage was 3%. That works out all the dollars. If it was a rate you charge them, hit the dollar symbol, it was 34,000 in percentage, but we might have given them a discount, 30,000. Okay, we've got our deadlines. Some people need to use these. When's pest and building due, finance due, pest, the inspection due and deposit due, any extra features you want to put in there and special conditions. You then select your solicitors from the list to link up in relation to who you're using, and then you can update the sales advice. Now, when you have all your sales advice information entered in, you'll be able to use the print sales advice option, which will merge our sales advice template. Again, the template can be changed. It's just a Word file. So you hit print sales advice. It will then prepare and merge the sales advice Word template. I'll let that download, and then we can actually open that up in Word. My Word takes a little bit to open, sorry. So we will then let that download, and I'll show you how that works. Okay, so it's just merging that now. And once you've selected all of your purchasers and solicitors, you see them over here on the right. These are all the parties that are attached to this property. So we can add the purchaser here, and then your solicitors, you can add them here, and they will be added on the right-hand side of the screen, so you can see all their information about them, and their details also appear down here. So we have the letter. I download that document. I'll just save that, and I'll open it, but we'll come back to that whilst that's opening up in Word. Okay, so now that you've got all of the sales information entered in the task for this property, you'll have your listing plan that you've set when the property is actually launched. And sorry, I did miss that part. So when you launch the listing, the day it's launched, you select all, remove your plan that you had against it. And when you launch a listing for the first time, if you want to use our vendor management plan, you go to Apply DNA, and you'll use the 3.1 private treaty plan. If it's today's a Wednesday, you generally launch that next on the Monday. So you start it from the Monday the 12th, and you hit add. And that will be your new listing vendor management plan from the day you launched it. Now, that plan has a whole lot of stuff in it. Some people choose to use it, some don't. It's pretty heavy vendor management and follow-up. You can customize that completely as well. But when you get a sale, you need to then apply the DNA plan. These plans will be the vendor exchange to settlement and the purchaser exchange to settlement. So we set one for the vendor first, and we apply that. It's going to give you all of the tasks that you need to do for your listing agent to keep in contact with their seller. The next plan you apply on top of that, this is the only one really you apply to, because there's now two people, is the purchaser one. And this will be all of the follow-up for the selling agent to keep in contact with their purchaser. So there's a whole lot of emails, SMSs, things that backdate from settlement dates, etc., to keep you in contact with them whilst the settlement date's coming up. And these will be appearing in your task. So you can see there's some for Dave, there's some for Luke, listing agents, selling agents there. Whole lot of different letters that relate to the seller and the purchaser. Now, hopefully you just manage this. It's very seamless when the offer's gone through. You're just really nurturing the sale up until this point, until it becomes settled. When the property does become settled, you will come back into the property. You will change the property status. Sorry, when it goes exchange, you'll change it to exchanged so that it shows in your exchange list. That will be admin's job to change that over to exchanged, and it will appear in that filter. And when it becomes settled, I'll just go into properties and show you this. In properties, you have your filters here. Okay, so there's our 8 Skinners. Now, when it settles, this is the last and final part I want to show you, which is where there's a whole lot of power around your DNA plans. So we have our vendors, Alex, our purchaser, Dave, Hammond. We then mark the property, whoops, sorry, just screwed down too far, as settled. We got a call from the vendor and the solicitors, and we're going to update the status to settled. Both solicitors said it's now transacted. The purchaser now owns this property, and we're going to transfer that to them. Now, the transfer property is one of the most powerful features. It will actually transfer this and set all the anniversary plans and set all the follow-up for our listing agent and selling agent for the vendor and purchaser. So today it's settled. We hit transfer property, and we go through the process that it gives us. The first thing is remove all uncompleted tasks against the property that's for sale. We're going to say, yes, it's now settled. We want to assign a new DNA plan for the vendor. Now, for the vendor, it's 6.1 settled vendor. That will keep our listing agent in contact with Alex Moffat every year on this date just to see how they're going. We can see that his address is 55 Clovelly Road. If your vendor was moving, so this is actually his address he lives at. This was an investment property he's selling, so we don't need to update that. But if they were selling their home, you would have to update this address to where they're moving to. And then it's got update the vendor client tag. So the vendor has just sold a property. I want to add any past vendor that I sell a property for into my VIP and Christmas card list. That's just defaults I do for any vendor. Now, the next one is for our purchaser. Do I want to create a new property assigned to them? Yes, I do. And what plan? They're going to be a live-in purchaser. Do I want to update the tags for them? Well, yes, any purchaser of mine, I also want to put in VIP, and I want to make sure they're in my Christmas card list. Will the purchaser remain as an active buyer? No, Dave Hammond has found his dream home. And do we want to update his address to be the purchase property? Yes, he's going to be moving into it, so we're going to update it to that address. And we then hit the transfer property. Now, this will go through and tick the boxes as it's doing each one of these steps. We just simply let this do its thing. And now it's done all of the vendor settlement stuff and working on the purchaser. It's added a new property. It's assigning the DNA plan for the selling agent. It's updating the tags and updating his postal address, and it's telling us congratulations. And then we can go to the new property. Now, on this new property, this is again where your DNA plans become super, super powerful. We go into the tasks and we can see that this has now been assigned to the selling agent, Luke Newton. We have 2 whole years of really good follow-up with them. We then get into, I think it's actually 3 years of really good follow-up. And then it goes into generic anniversary SMS saying, hey Dave, it's been 5 years since you purchased your home. Just wanted to see how you're going. Hope it's all going well. Let me know if you'd like to have an updated price. That goes out every year after the 5th year until they die or you die. Imagine that. If you're an agent who's sold 500 properties in your career, you would have 500 SMSs going out, let's call it 2 a day, to past sellers saying, did you know it's been 20 years you've been in your home? Give me a call for an appraisal, without you having to do anything. And we also have a generic email that goes out on the 5th year forever. That is a nice branded email that says, happy anniversary, keeping you up to date. It's been a certain amount of time since you've sold that home. We'll let this template load. There's all the text. Okay, it's been 0 years because it hasn't got up to the 5th year yet. And we can see as a VIP client, I want to offer my services to you. And that just goes out automatically to them forever. So I stress this to owners of businesses, like, don't rely on your agents. Get the admin to set those appraisal plans, to set those anniversary plans, to transfer it, because you can take a back seat now, know that every sale that your business makes from here on in, there is automation going out every year, one point of contact with them. There really shouldn't be any reason why you wouldn't get called in to resell a property if you have that regular contact with someone. So that potential property that we now have for 8 Skinners is attached to the purchaser. And again, all we're trying to do is build a relationship, take that from a potential to an appraisal, from an appraisal to a listing to a sale, and sell the property again. Now, every time you sell a property in the properties area, what you will see here is that if I look up 8 Skinners, we have the property, whoops, spelled it wrong. If we look up 8 Skinners, we have the property in there twice. One is a settled record attached to our vendor that sold it on that date, and a new potential one. This one is a sales history record. It has all the information, the buyers, the prices, the notes against it. You never delete a settled record for your vendor, but you always focus on the potential as the new one to go through in your pipeline. Okay, guys, that brings us to the end of our Locked On session, talking about the properties, the DNA plans, your tasks, the marketing, the vendor reports around that. We're going to stop the recording now and then go into some questions. But before we do that, I just want to say thank you for being at the webinar today. It's been a pleasure having you on board, showing you around the Locked On and its features and what comes with the system. If you do have questions that relate to your account specifically, make sure you email support@lockedon.com. That's support@lockedon.com. Again, guys, thank you for your time.